My parents spent 8 years believing they were helping me. Wait until they realize I've been undermining my own friendships because of them. The guidance counselor, Mrs. Pensit, was flipping through my file when her eyebrows shot up like they were trying to escape her face. 15 schools in 8 years, she said, looking up at me over her reading glasses, the kind that hung on a beaded chain around her neck when she wasn't using them. Wow. I gave her my practice smile, the one I'd perfected somewhere between school number 7 and school number 8. Not too eager, not too withdrawn, just the right amount of I'm totally fine with this completely abnormal situation. My dad calls it aggressive tourism, I said, delivering the line with the timing of someone who'd used it at least a dozen times before, because I had. It usually got a laugh, or at least a sympathetic chuckle. It was better than explaining the real reason. I honestly had no idea why we moved so much. My parents just got that look every few months. Mom would start browsing Zillow at the kitchen table. Dad would mention some vague work opportunity. And I'd know to start keeping my belongings in a state of perpetual, ready-to-pack readiness. Mrs. Pence sat down my file and leaned forward in that way adults did when they wanted to seem approachable and understanding. Her chair squeaked with the movement, a sharp sound that made me think of mice in the walls. Well, I want you to know that West Grove High is thrilled to have you, even if it's just for a little while. She paused, probably realizing how depressing that sounded, or for the rest of your high school career. We have wonderful programs here. Our drama department just won regionals and our debate team. That's great, I interrupted gently. I'd learned that if you let them finish the whole spiel, they'd expect you to actually join something. Could I just get my schedule? I don't want to be late for first period. She looked like she wanted to say more. They always did. But she handed over the printed schedule. Computer science, AP English, chemistry, calculus, history, PE. The same classes I'd been taking at various stages of completion for the last 2 years. At this point, I probably knew the first 3 chapters of every textbook by heart. Your first class is in Building C, she said, pulling out a map of the campus. She traced the route with her finger, leaving a small smudge on the paper. It can be a bit confusing at first, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. Would you like me to assign you a buddy? Someone to show you around? Good, thanks. The buddy system was always more awkward than helpful. Some overly enthusiastic student council type would spend the day asking me questions I didn't want to answer while showing me where the bathrooms were. As if I couldn't figure that out myself. Truth was, I could predict almost everything about the next few weeks with scientific accuracy. The teacher who'd make me stand and introduce myself, torture level moderate to severe depending on the number of follow-up questions. The cafeteria where I'd eat alone for the first week while mapping the social geography. Jocks by the windows, theater kids near the stage, AP students stress-eating while reviewing flashcards. The inevitable "where are you from?" question that I'd started answering with whatever felt amusing that day. Mars, witness protection, your mom's house, because who cared? I'd be gone in a month anyway. 2, if we were really settling in over the years, I'd developed a system, refined it to an art form. Never join clubs that required commitments past 30 days. No yearbook, no student government, definitely no sports teams that expected you to finish a season. Keep locker decorations in a Ziploc bag for easy transport. A small mirror, some magnets, maybe a photo or 2, nothing that required tape or left residue. And my personal favorite rule. When people asked for your Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever app was currently consuming everyone's attention, tell them you're taking a social media break for mental health reasons. Instead of admitting you didn't see the point in digital friendships that would fade into archived messages and forgotten usernames within weeks, I learned these rules the hard way. School number 3. I joined the soccer team, made friends, got a jersey with my name on it. Then we moved 2 weeks before the first game, and I found that jersey at the bottom of a box 6 moves later, letters cracked and peeling. School number 7. I'd started dating someone, made plans for homecoming, left before we could break up properly. And sometimes I still wondered if he told people I ghosted him, or made up a more dramatic story. Building C was exactly where Mrs. Pence's smudged finger had indicated. A 2-story brick structure that looked like it had been added as an afterthought when the school ran out of room in the main building. Hallways crowded with students who moved with the confidence of people who knew exactly where they belonged. I navigated them like a ghost, present but not really there. Visible but not really seen. The computer science classroom was in room C204, which meant stairs and a left turn at the top. I'd gotten good at reading the logic of school buildings, They all followed similar patterns, like levels in a video game with reskinned layouts. I walked in and took a seat in the middle of the room, not the back where the slackers sat, not the front where the eager beavers lived. Just perfectly, forgettably middle the teacher. Mr. Rodriguez, according to my schedule, looked up from his computer and gave me the kind of nod that said he'd been expecting me but wasn't going to make a big deal about it. I loved teachers like that. The day progressed exactly as expected. 3 teachers made me introduce myself. Name, where I'm from, one interesting fact. I've been to 15 schools, always sufficed for that last one. 1 teacher ignored me completely. 2 handed me outdated textbooks with someone else's name written on the inside cover. The cafeteria was serving something that claimed to be pizza, but looked like someone had described pizza to an alien who'd never seen cheese. I found an empty table by the windows, not the good windows where the athletes sat, but the ones that looked out onto the parking lot. I unwrapped my lunch. Always bring your own the first week until you figure out which cafeteria foods are actually edible, and pulled out my book. Reading was the perfect activity for new kids. It made you look busy but not desperate, intellectual but not pretentious, alone by choice rather than circumstance. I was 3 chapters into my reread of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Comfort reading, like comfort food, but with fewer calories. When a shadow fell across my page, absolutely not. I looked up to find a girl standing over me with her hands on her hips, looking personally offended by my existence. She had the kind of confidence that came from never being the new kid, never questioning whether she belonged. Her hair was in one of those messy buns that probably took 20 minutes to look that effortless. She was wearing what I'd already identified as the West Grove High unofficial uniform: leggings, oversized sweatshirt, pristine white sneakers that somehow never got dirty. "Excuse me," I said, though I wasn't really asking. I'd learned that sometimes, if you just looked confused enough, people would leave you alone. "You're eating lunch with us," she declared, like she was announcing a new law passed by the Senate. "I saw you yesterday with your sad desk salad, looking like you'd rather die than make eye contact with anyone." "Absolutely not on my watch." "I wasn't here yesterday," I pointed out, because accuracy mattered even in social confrontations. She waved this off like facts were minor inconveniences. "Whatever, I saw you today this morning looking all tragic and alone. Same difference, come on." She actually reached for my book and I instinctively pulled it back. Nobody touches the book. The book is sacred. The book is the fortress of solitude in paperback form. "I'm good here, thanks," I said, trying for firm, but polite. She glanced at the cover. The Hitchhiker's Guide. "Oh my God, Mia loves those books. She quotes them constantly. It's actually kind of annoying, but also endearing. Like she'll randomly yell 42 in response to any question and think she's hilarious." She paused, studying me with the intensity of someone used to getting her way. "I'm Katie, by the way, and you're eating lunch with us. This isn't a negotiation." Before I could protest further, she'd somehow maneuvered me out of my seat. Not physically, but through sheer force of will and the kind of social pressure that makes you feel like resistance would be more awkward than compliance. I grabbed my lunch and my book and followed her across the cafeteria like a reluctant duckling. Her table was in what I'd identified as the middle-tier social zone. Not the coveted spots by the good windows, but not exile territory by the trash cans either. 2 other girls sat there, one absorbed in a statistics textbook, the other building an elaborate structure out of French fries. "Guys, this is Katie," she paused, realizing she'd kidnapped me without actually getting my name. "Sarah," I supplied, because what else was I going to do? "This is Sarah," Katie continued smoothly. "She's new and she was sitting alone reading, which is basically a cry for help. Sarah, this is Mia." She pointed to the girl with the textbook, who looked up and gave me a small wave. "And Sophie," she said, pointing to the French fry architect, who beamed at me like I'd just told her she'd won the lottery. "My God, new girl," Sophie squealed. And I mean actually squealed, a sound I thought only existed in young adult novels. "I love your whole vibe, very mysterious, very I could be a spy or really into poetry." "Are you a spy? You can tell us." "We're excellent at keeping secrets." "Actually, that's not true. I'm terrible at secrets, but Mia is really good at them." "Not a spy?" I said, sitting down because standing there holding my lunch bag was starting to feel ridiculous. "That's exactly what a spy would say." Sophie nodded sagely, then turned to Katie. "We're keeping her." And that's when I noticed something that made my chest tighten with a feeling I'd trained myself not to have anymore. They all had matching friendship bracelets, Not the store-bought kind, but homemade ones with embroidery floss, slightly frayed and faded from wear. The kind you made at summer camp or sleepovers, the kind that meant history. Been a trio since elementary school, Mia said, apparently noticing where I was looking. She had a quiet way of observing things, like cataloging information for later use. 4th grade, specifically, Sophie convinced us to sneak out during indoor recess to build a snow fort. We got detention together and we've been inseparable ever since, Mia said. It was an excellent snow fort, Sophie added. Structurally sound, could have withstood a siege. I tried to imagine having friends since 4th grade, knowing someone through braces, bad haircuts, first crushes, failed tests. The longest friendship I'd had was 6 months with a girl named Jessica from school number 11. Now we just liked each other's posts out of habit, not connection. We need a 4th for our Halloween group costume, Sophie announced suddenly. We're doing the plastics from Mean Girls. Katie's Gretchen, I'm Karen, Mia's Katie, and you're Regina. You're tall, it's perfect. Bold of you to assume I'll still be here by Halloween, I said, aiming for breezy but landing closer to tragic. Sophie gasped, grabbing my hands. Oh my God, are you suicidal? Katie, she's suicidal. What? No. My face went hot as people turned to look. I just meant my family moves a lot, 15 schools in 8 years. Sophie frowned, counting on her fingers. So that's like 23 schools? That's not how math works, Mia said gently. Math is a social construct, Sophie declared. Katie gave me a look sharp, certain. Bold of you to assume we'll let you leave without being Regina George. The bell saved me before I could reply. As I packed up, Katie snatched my phone, added her number, and handed it back. There. Now you're stuck with us. Resistance is futile. That's Star Trek, not Hitchhiker's Guide, Mia said. Whatever, nerd, same genre. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm I hadn't expected. Katie texted me every morning. We're not matching, we're complementing, and appeared at my locker with updates like, Mr. Peterson's in a bad mood, don't make eye contact. Sophie added commentary ranging from insightful, I think the janitor's secretly a poet, to unhinged. What if dogs know they're good boys but pretend they don't for humility? Mia was quieter, always showing up with an extra pen or pack of gum, and explaining math through absurd examples. Okay, imagine Sophie's building a taco-launching catapult. They did things that didn't fit my transient logic, things that suggested staying one day. Mia brought me a tiny succulent. It's called an echeveria, she said. Even if you move, it won't die. They're like the Nokia phones of plants. Then Sophie added me to their group chat, Forever Sophomores. We tried changing it, Katie said, but Sophie freaked out about losing the message history. There are 3 years of quality memes in there, Sophie defended. And the video of Katie falling off the stage during the freshman talent show, that's historical documentation. The group chat was chaos in motion. Inside jokes, old photos, references to people I didn't know. They'd send pictures from middle school, round faces, braces, matching Justice shirts. Look at baby us, Sophie captioned one. Delete this immediately, Katie replied with 17 skull emojis. Never. That's blackmail for when you're famous, Mia added. I wanted to join in to share my own memories, but my past felt scattered, like files saved across too many hard drives. Every photo had different faces, different houses, different versions of me. Katie kept sending me 2am TikToks, captioned us next year or college road trip vibes. Each one was a tiny paper cut to my emotional distance. There was never a next year for me. My family didn't do permanence. But instead of saying that, I just hearted the messages and sent back laughing emojis, pretending I belonged to a future I didn't believe in. 3 weeks in, I made the mistake of caring. It happened slowly, then all at once, helping Sophie with her disastrous Great Gatsby essay. Why didn't he just text Daisy? Letting Mia paint my nails existential crisis purple, and actually looking forward to Katie's morning outfit texts. One Thursday, we were studying at Katie's house, Aka eating cookie dough and gossiping. Her room was exactly what I'd imagined, fairy lights, Polaroids, makeup everywhere. My God, Sophie gasped. Brad got a perm like a real perm. No way, Katie said. It's confirmed, Mia replied, showing the evidence. I laughed, really laughed. The kind that made my stomach hurt. For a moment, I forgot to be temporary. Then Katie's mom appeared at the door. Girls, stay for dinner. I'm making tacos. I should get home, I said automatically. Nonsense, Mrs. Chen smiled. You're always welcome here. When she left, Katie turned to me. Okay, intervention time. She pulled Sophie and Mia into a huddle, then they faced me like a tribunal. Decided, Katie declared, you're not allowed to pre-break up with us. Pre-breakup? I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. I'd been doing it for years. You know, ending things before they end, Mia said softly. Like eating dessert first, but sad. It's more like wearing a Band-Aid in case you get hurt, Sophie added. You're so busy preparing for pain that you're already living in it. Sometimes Sophie's logic was accidentally profound. My cousin moved to Germany and we still send memes. Distance is just a number. Well, technically it's a measurement, but love transcends space. That's not physics, Mia corrected. It's metaphysics, Sophie said proudly. Katie sat next to me on the bed, vanilla body spray drifting in. Look, I get it. Moving sucks, starting over sucks, but you know what sucks more? Never actually starting because you're too worried about the ending. You sound like a motivational poster, I said, voice wobbly. Good. Maybe I'll get one made with a sunset and cursive font, she replied. That night, after tacos and helping Katie's little brother with his prematurely erupting volcano, I walked home instead of calling my mom. The streets were quiet, suburban, houses rooted and permanent, unlike me. One house had Halloween decorations beside an inflated Santa. Weirdly comforting at home, Mom sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, real estate listings blinking at me. Portland, Seattle, places with rain, coffee, flannel. My stomach sank. Normally, I'd retreat to my room and start detaching, but something about Sophie, Mia, and Katie made me sit beside Mom. This school has a really good theater program, I said casually. They're doing Heathers in the spring. Mom froze. You want to audition? I shrugged. The drama teacher already assumes I'll be here. I pulled out the forms, emergency contacts, rehearsal schedules stretching to May, previous theater experience, tree number 3 in 6th grade Peter Pan. In our family's timeline, May meant at least 3 moves. Mom called Dad. David, come here. Appeared from his office, familiar and permanent, the same desk, lamp, framed Disneyland photo. Mom explained. Sarah wants to audition for the spring musical. Their glance held a conversation I'd never seen before. Usually it was logistics, moving companies, leases, breaking the news. This one was different. We could. Dad started, paused, tried again. We could look at houses here to buy, not rent. My brain stalled. Buy, permanence, metal numbers nailed to the front of a house. But what about your job? I asked. Been remote for 2 years, Dad said, almost embarrassed. We thought you liked exploring. Exploring? The word came out as a laugh-cry hybrid, the sound of emotions refusing to settle in one direction. I thought you guys were commitment-phobic nomads having a midlife crisis, I said. Mom slowly closed her laptop. We thought moving helped you. Every time you shut down, we hoped a fresh start would reset things. The irony hit me. I shut down because we always moved. Why make friends? Why join clubs? Why care? Oh, honey, Mom said. And suddenly I was crying, the kind that had been building for 8 years and 15 schools. Dad pulled me into a hug, the kind he used when I was little and believed parents could fix anything. We were literally a self-fulfilling prophecy of unnecessary relocation trauma, he murmured. I laughed through tears. Did you just diagnose our family dysfunction? Been reading parenting blogs, he admitted. Stability in adolescence is crucial. Most people don't go to 15 schools, I shot back. Touché. We stayed up until midnight looking at houses, not in Portland or Seattle, but here, West Grove. Mom had saved listings for a permanent move. This one has a good school district, she said. We're already in it, I pointed out. Right, but property values, she admitted, embarrassed. For the first time in 8 years, I let myself imagine staying. The next morning, Katie immediately made a Pinterest board. Sarah's room aesthetic. You can't just stay without letting me plan your entire interior, she said, dragging Sophie and Mia into an emergency planning session. They briefed me on every tradition I'd missed. Winter formal disasters, Shakespeare units, lake parties. They planned my year like I belonged. Over the following weeks. I stopped maintaining escape routes. I put up posters with real tape. I took the audition packet for Heathers. When the guidance counselor asked how I was settling in, I said, plot twist, I'm actually settling. Mrs. Pensit laughed. Not a plot twist, character development. Meanwhile, my parents went full house hunting mode. Open houses every weekend, original hardwood floors, proximity to school. All previously meaningless details suddenly mattered.